You know the saying, the only certainties in life are death and taxes. But I found a few other thoughts on the matter this week as well. One cynic wrote, "Death and taxes may always be with us, but at least death doesn't get any worse." And Arthur Godfrey once wrote, "I feel honored to pay taxes in America. The thing is, I could probably feel just as honored for about half the price." However, I do want to take a moment as I begin this morning, after the week that we have experienced, to comment on two tragedies. There are certainties in life, but the crippling gun violence at work in our nation does not have to be one of those certainties. I fear that as a nation, we have just come to expect gun violence. There have been 565 mass shootings this year alone. More shootings than days in the year, and the average is 2 mass shootings per day. This week, the people of Maine can tell us firsthand the horror and abiding grief that the part of our culture's addiction to guns plays. As people of faith, it is certainly appropriate to offer our thoughts and prayers, but then we must take those thoughts and prayers and use them to empower us to influence our leaders to create policy and change. Death and taxes are certainties, but gun violence does not have to be. And secondly, the war taking place in Israel and Gaza does not have to be a certainty either. If I'm honest, I was speaking with a colleague last night about the challenges that we see between Israelis and Palestinians and how terrorist groups create even more havoc in the midst of this centuries-old and deeply complex issues. Many attempts have been made for ceasefires throughout the years, presidents of both parties focusing on that crisis to little avail. However, we do not have to accept as a certainty inhumane treatment of Palestinians, nor anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim views or policies. We must not only pray for peace, we are called to work for peace. Now back to the regularly scheduled sermon. On the surface, it is very easy in our reading this morning to believe that Jesus is talking about taxes. But we mustn't be fooled. Today's scripture lesson is actually not about money. It is about politics and it is about power. But even more than that, it is a trap. The Pharisees set the trap because they were jealous that Jesus was gaining a following and they were eager to destroy him, and they planned to do it by using his own words against him. So they brought Jesus a coin and asking him, "Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar?" If he said yes, he'd anger the Jews because they were an occupied nation suffering the indignities of the Roman army. On the other hand, if he said no, he'd incur the wrath of Rome for seditious remarks. Jesus, exhibiting great wisdom, asked to see the coin. Whose picture is on this coin? Jesus asks. The crowd gathered responds, Caesar's. And in an unforgettable moment of eloquence, Jesus responds, then render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. Clearly, Jesus was saying that his people had something to offer both God and the government. But today, that Caesar-God question can still get tricky. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. I think if we're honest, that most of us, whether we agree with it or not, are aware that politics and religion mix all the time. A Gallup poll taken prior to the 2020 election showed that 68% of Americans identify themselves as, quote, faith-based voters. And in our scripture lesson today, we are reminded that when an emperor came to power, he would immediately have coins minted with his name and portrait on them. And yet this practice is still in place today. Earlier this month, the first coins bearing the official effigy of King Charles III entered circulation. The 4.9 million 50-pence coins feature the king's portrait, and on the reverse, a design symbolizing the life and legacy of the late queen, according to the Royal Mint. Money with modern-day leaders printed on the coins and on the paper indicate the subtle messaging that the money belongs to the ruler. So in his answer, Jesus said that since the coins already belong to the emperor, give them back to him. Give back to the emperor what belongs to the emperor, and give to God what belongs to God. And I believe that in the year 2023, this is at the core of Jesus' message for us. This was a similar lesson by John D. Rockefeller Sr. Rockefeller rode the great American dream. He drove himself hard to be a success. He became a millionaire by age 23, and at the age of 50 was the richest person on the earth. Then at 53 years of age, Rockefeller developed a serious illness which caused the hair on his head, his eyebrows, and eyelashes to drop off. Even though he was the world's richest person, he could only digest milk and crackers. He became shrunken, almost like a mummy. And someone once noted, he could not sleep, would not smile, and nothing in life meant much to him at all. Doctors predicted that within the year he would be dead. One night, however, as he struggled to fall asleep, he came to grip with the realities of his life. He realized that he could take nothing with him into the next world. The very next day, he embarked on a new way of living. Rather than hoarding his money and possessions, he began to give them away to persons in need. Establishing the Rockefeller Foundation, he channeled his fortune into hospitals, research, and mission work. His contributions eventually led to the discovery of penicillin, as well as cures for malaria, tuberculosis, and diphtheria. At age 53, Rockefeller was given a year to live. But by learning to live by the principle of giving rather than getting, it altered his life so dramatically that he eventually lived to the ripe age of 98. So I'm curious. What has God given you that needs to be used for good? What has God given you that needs to be used for good? If you have financial resources, what are you doing with them to make a difference? If you have a passion for ending gun violence, then what organization are you volunteering with, donating to, and what protest have you joined? If you have a passion for seeing young people succeed, how many do you tutor a week? Where is God calling you? Where is God leading you? Because, my friends, I've learned that when God calls, we must answer. When God gives us something intended for us to use for good, we must do that. Not because we serve an angry God who is eager to see us destroyed, rather because we serve a loving God who yearns for us to experience the fullness of life. Certainties in life, the human answer, death and taxes. Jesus' answer, our ability to glorify God through making a difference in the world. May it be so. And may it begin in this place on this day.